Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Bogey Proof. We got Matt and Mike dialing in, ready to talk a little golf and everything else. Matt, where are you dialing in from and what are you sipping on?
We are live from Connecticut, back in the apartment. Finally got some nice weather, which is good. It was cold as shit, I think, last week when we talked, but got up to 70 today. So got out there, worked on the game a little bit. I am sipping on Four Roses small batch, I believe this is. I forget because I put it in like a little canter thing, but little back to the bourbon. I've been on beers for a little while, so mixing it up. How about you? What do you got?
Nothing like a little Four Roses small batch. I didn't go with that tonight, though. I do have a little bit sitting on the makeshift bar cart that I made down here in Pinehurst. But I'm back with the Southern Pines Man of Law American IPA. Had one left in there. I got
Ooh,
my fridge right now is super rogue. I had one of these. I had one Guinness. I had one Corona, and one seltzer sitting in my fridge right now. So it was going to be one of those four. Um, Went with this IPA here on Tuesday as we do this recording, and it's tasty. I think I remember bringing up, the first time I had one of these, I was playing number two, so always good memories when I'm drinking a Southern Pines Man of Law. But let's get into just a quick recap of last week's golf. Zurich Classic, I think we all kind of chatted about it. It wasn't one that we were excited to watch it and kind of see what was going to come of it, but it's tough, right? We're still kind of on the way down after the Masters. RBC, we had a career performance from Stuart Sink. Like we just didn't really know what was going to come of the team event, but turned out to be a whole lot of fun. I don't know how much you got to watch, but I got to watch a little bit kind of throughout the week, and then Sunday down the stretch to kind of I didn't get to watch a ton, but I followed along pretty much the entire time, um, and just the back and forth. And we'd be remiss not to talk about how hot the Bogey Proof Picks we are right now. I think it was your pick, correct? Did you get it done this week?
Aussies, baby. I mean, to be fair though, you picked the other team that was in the playoff. So we were golden once we got to that playoff. Little Aussie South African showdown. Bogey proof picks trending for sure. Trending. I got Jordan at the Valero right, and now with this one, Eric's got a couple. We've had consistent top five finishes by at least one of our bogey proof picks in the last like 6 weeks. I want to say. Don't quote me on that, but I'm almost positive that's correct. So we're trending in the right direction, starting to learn get our footing under us here with the picks and, make some decently educated guesses instead of just, going with who we like. I think we're actually, by virtue of doing this, we're kind of watching a little bit more golf. At least I know I am. On especially I'm always watching golf, but like on some of the tournaments that I normally wouldn't, dive into, just by making these picks, I'm watching a lot more and learning a little bit. So definitely able to spot the guys with their game kind of trending in the right direction and get those horses for the courses or whatever it may be where, the picks are starting to pay out. So, if you're a golf gambling guy, pay attention.
Kind
Might want to listen in.
couple scary, President's Cup combinations there
Ooh,
too with
ooh,
with Leishman and Cam Smith kind of, Cam Smith quickly becoming a top 15, 20 player in the world right now. And
shreddy man.
Leishman kind of have been a stalwart in the top 30. Someone who's sneaky won like 6, 7 times on tour in the
Mhm.
last, maybe 7 years. So, playing really well. And then Charles Schwartzel figuring out a little bit. Louis Oosthuizen just deciding he wants to play golf at a high level, um, kind of whenever he wants is just kind of wild. Like he just decides he WD'd like twice in a month, like two
Mhm.
months ago, and then he goes and he just like plays well in difficult tournaments. He plays well in the team event. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense, but got an absolute gorgeous golf swing. And I'm always surprised when he hits one offline, like that shot he hit in
Yeah.
the playoff.
I was like, yeah, that again, yeah, agree. That threw me off. I honestly, it's probably not a fair comparison, but him and Mark Leishman honestly remind me they have like similar vibes where they just randomly are just like right at the top of the leaderboard, like I said, in tough golf tournaments, whatever, and like just look so solid that like you don't understand why the week before they missed a cut or the week after they followed up with like kind of very mediocre performances. I think that's why like Leash's wins kind of sneak up on you is like he comes in and he wins and then he kind of fades into the background. Like he comes up and gets one and then he falls away where Louis comes up and contends, and then he never gets it done because, like, I mean, not a lot of people are talking about this, but he's never won on American soil, right? He won at St. Andrews, and he's never won on the PGA Tour, like, besides that major. Obviously, like you said, he's always in the mix and, like, contends in the majors and the WGCs. Like, he's always in there, and he's the top, 40, 30 player in the world, whatever it may be. I don't know how high up he is these days, but he hasn't been able to get it done to, like, actually win. But they both remind me, they're both similar in the fact that when they're playing well, they're top five. Leash just happens to get it done a little bit more often. But, like, when they're not playing well, they're, like, nowhere to be seen. And maybe that's virtue of, like, TV coverage, maybe just being that they're not Americans or whatever it is, and might not see them if they're T30. They might not get a lot of TV time, but they similar vibe where it's either really really good or, like, you don't even know they played that week, kind of vibe with those two.
Yeah,
Both
I
work-life
agree.
balance.
I agree, and I appreciate you adding in that little nobody's talking about it tidbit. I think the crew down in San Antonio will appreciate that. So if any of the guys,
Nobody's talking about Louis not getting it done on American soil. That's for sure.
yeah,
Nobody's
nobody's talking about it. We'll see if he can get it done now that we're talking about it. But I also wanted to shout out the team from Massachusetts, being two guys who grew up in Western Massachusetts. Richie Urensky, South Hadley guy, and then Peter Uline, who grew up a little outside Providence, Rhode Island, a little south of Boston. Dad's been a Acushnet Titleist guy, and for pretty much his whole life. But they were T3. It was fun to watch. Peter Uline won the week before on the Corn Ferry, and just fun to kind of see some local guys making a little headline. And they actually got a really
up that board on Sunday too. The alternate shot, they were 5 or 6 under, which was, like, by far the best round of the day out of anybody on Sunday with that format, and impressive shit. I mean, the Zurich Classic, even though it's a team event, like, it's no joke with the points and the money that they give out there. So for a guy like Richie that always seems to find himself right around that, like, 100 part in the FedEx Cup to come year end, I think this is a huge. Again, I don't know, like, the actual amount of points, right? But I know the FedEx Cup, those playoffs are so valuable when it comes to exemptions and, like, the actual cash given out. For him to snag a solo third, I think, right? Again, I don't know how much different the points get given a team event, but for him to get a solo, like, a top 5 finish, essentially one way or the other, I think that does a lot for him because he does make a lot of cuts. It's just always in the T20 range where he doesn't rack up a ton of FedEx Cup points, where by the end of the year, unless he gets a win, he's always right on that bubble. And, like, if he makes it in one, he's got to play really well to get it into that second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. So I'm hoping that, just being biased, right? Like, he's, like I said, he's a South Hadley guy. Like, we're East Long Meadow guys ourselves, like, local kid, like, we're always rooting for him. So I'm hoping that, a finish like this just gives him a little bit of cushion come year end where he's confidently in that first wave of the playoff and he's able to not have to top 10 to get to round 2. So always kind of pulling for the hometown guys. And I was excited to see them kind of pop up that leaderboard or fly up that leaderboard on Sunday and get some legitimate FedEx Cup points, payout, all those things that come along with it. And for a guy like Uline, like you said, Corn Ferry the week before, like, it must be nice for him to just pop in and quick third finish. I'm sure that paycheck was nice to see come through. And yeah, it's just nice to see kind of some local guys get in the mix on the PGA Tour. Like, Richie's, he had a very strong start to the Florida swing, and then always on the weekend, the second I tuned in, just kind of faded. I'm not faded, but, like, couldn't keep up with the firepower that was, whether it was Bryson or whoever, stuff like that. So it's just nice to see him solidify that top 5 finish, like, the way he can kind of play. It's nice to see.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you brought it up there. They did really great in the alternate shot format. So that was fun, just with that kind of being the significantly more difficult, right? Like, Joey's guy, Kiradek, him and his partner,
not good.
Yeah, the guy from India, sorry, can't remember his name off the top of my head. Lahiri, they shot 80. They shot like 79 or 80 in alternate shot. So, like, it can easily go bad. So it was fun to see them, really thrive in that format. And they chatted a little bit on the PGA Tour, did an article on them, and they chatted about, hey, like, we're comfortable. We've played against each other. We've played with each other. Like, we know each other's games, and, like, we thought that was going to be a good format for us.
Yeah.
So fun to kind of see that come to fruition.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
and I just think too, like from what I did watch this weekend, it's just fun watching players on the PGA Tour enjoy themselves and take a step back and relax. And I think the team format did that. Yes, you see some kind of some tough times when people don't agree on something or they're really struggling, and you kind of get down on your partner, or you get down on yourself for kind of dragging them down. But really, when things are going well, it's a lot of fun to watch. It's fun to see the banter back and forth. We saw like Billy Horschel and Sam Burns team up, and like in that interview they did after the first round, Billy Horschel didn't let Sam Burns get a word in the entire time. Like just like crazy shit like that. And so it's just fun to kind of see how people interact. And it was definitely fun to see the PGA Tour players enjoy themselves out there.
yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, that the way not only is that the format of the event, but the fact that they get to just pick whoever they want to play with, right? I mean, like normally there's, with Ryder Cup stuff, like, obviously that stuff's predetermined. Granted, you're playing for something bigger at that point, but to have it be fun like this and like it just gives the players, and I think that's why they get the the players that they do get, because like if you look at something like the Tiburon thing, like yeah, it's a fun thing and it's honestly the same format, right? But granted, it's also right before Christmas or whatever, so it doesn't get the pull. But something like this, it's like a fun city. It gets it's a lot of points, a lot of money at stake. These guys, like they're like, what, let me play with one of my buddies or somebody whose game fits with me, or some guys are like, hey, like maybe we're going to be paired up President's Cup, Ryder Cup, like you said, like the Australians, the South Africans, Cantlay and Shoffley, like these are guys that are top level, and going to be in the conversation for whether it's Ryder Cup, President's Cup, whatever it is, that probably are like, hey, like why not? Like, we play well, like let's go have fun with it, but like also at the same time we're kind of taking notes or kind of taking notice of how we work with each other in this kind of thing, where when we go to those events and where that are much more serious and a little less laid back and be like, hey, we've done this before, we'd be a great foursomes team if you want to put us out there for alternate shot, like because that's always the hardest format, right? It's always the do or die kind of format when it comes to Ryder Cups or even this tournament, right? I mean, there's talks of maybe them switching it to 4 days of alternate shot. I think that takes some of the fun out of it, but it also does provide the most interesting golf to watch, because even though we see that in Ryder Cup, it's always match play where it's like, okay, alternate shot, you hit one in the water, you kind of already lost the hole, you don't play that out. But now having to see these guys grind to make a bogey instead of making a double or triple, like it's kind of interesting, right? You don't see guys like this grinding over that. And especially when it's not all on yourself, where you kind of like, everybody deals with that mental game of golf, right? Where you don't get too down on yourself, you don't get too frustrated. You try and like, it's a 72 hole event. You can't freak out about one hole, you're going to make bogey, whatever. But like seeing it where I think I saw on either Sunday morning early coverage or Saturday morning early coverage, must have been Sunday because it's alternate shot. So Graham McDowell hits one in the water, or Matt Wallace hits one in the water on 18. Graham McDowell has to follow him. He hit it so far right, so fast that they didn't get a drop. They just re-teed. Graham McDowell does the same thing, slams his driver, turns his hat around, goes, sorry, pards. And then like his partner has to walk back because he thought he was going to hit the fairway. Like stuff like that, where you have to see them hitting 6 off the tee on a par 5, like versus just being like, all right, hole's over, let's move on. Like that part of the alternate shot, I think, make it really fun. And like, it's a whole new element when it's alternate shot, but also stroke play. And I think as fun as that would be to watch, I don't know if they get as many people playing, because then it's a lot less fun for them. Like you said, like I think they play in it because, hey, 2 of these days we're gonna go out there and shoot 8, 9 under, make a bunch of birdies, maybe free up your golf game a little bit. You're not grinding as much and maybe find something out there. Where if you're alternate shot, you got to be always on. It's not as laid back, but I do think that overall it was a lot of fun to watch this weekend. Nice to see the Aussies come out with a win, get a pick right. But the format itself, I think, played out really well. The walk-up music still stinks, but overall, this tournament's trending in the right direction. Like you said, it's just in a tough spot on the schedule. Everybody's still kind of on the way down from the Masters, and also like looking forward to the PGA with the new schedule and how quick that comes up. So tough schedule spot, but I mean, I had a lot of fun watching it. I love the format change up, the team aspect, and it's a good course too. It played firm, fast. The wind was going pretty well. Like these guys were grinding out there. It wasn't just like the birdies were like really good birdies. It wasn't just like, hit a drive 320, dart a wedge in there, like move on. Like those greens were firm where you had to kind of, they had to attack it in the right way or think about how they're going to hit their shot. And there was runoffs all around where it made it fun to watch. And like you could see there's some thought to the shots. It wasn't just hit a wedge to 10 feet. So it was good all around.
Yeah.
I had a good time watching.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a very interesting TPC course. I think I want more TPC courses to play like that one did this week. I think it would be better, and with the number of ones that we play on the PGA Tour, would be nice when they add some variety, like you said, when it plays firm, and then we have some runoffs, and definitely a good test. I mean, right? They're playing alternate shot, but the 4-ball, you'd expect them to go low in the best ball format, and we had 19 under one. So it's not like, I mean, we have weeks on the PGA Tour where
that wins by itself.
So
yeah.
I think that kind of shows you that it would definitely play it a little bit more difficult. And I think it just adds to some intrigue we've chatted about before, that there's just a lot of points, a lot of money going on. And, for a guy like Peter Uihlein or Chris Ventura, who was playing with Hovland, right? Like the opportunity to make a bunch of money and get a bunch of points. I think people will bitch and moan about it, some of the higher players in the world, because they people are probably getting some points that they're unwarranted, but it kind of brings some other people into play, and I think just adds to the variety and the interest. So yeah, fun week, and looking forward to this week, next year, and then also kind of some additional tournaments that have some variety. Barracuda when they do Stableford, and then match play again when we come back to Austin.
They got to put one of these in the fall or something. Like otherwise, nobody really watches that fall series. Like put one of these in the fall one time.
Can we get a PGA Tour, LPGA Tour team event?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean,
that would be a fucking blast.
LPGA Tour right now, LPGA Tour. It seems like every week it's the Quarter Sisters, Lydia Ko, Danielle Kang. I can't pronounce the name, but the one that whoever won the major a couple weeks ago, like Brooke Henderson just won last week. Like the LPGA Tour, and maybe it's just due to the lack of events, but like there's no off weeks on the LPGA Tour. It seems like every week that leaderboard is like the top of the top. Like it's the top players in the world. Whereas like the PGA Tour, we talk about it a lot, where some weeks like the field just isn't there, and it's like, all right, you got to find a storyline to kind of care about it. Like every week, the best of the best are showing up on the LPGA Tour, and it's making for like insanely awesome and competitive leaderboards that lead to like back nine Sunday battles. Like it just, and like there's got to be a way. And I think the Wednesday through Saturday thing kind of worked because it was West Coast, so it's primetime TV. So it's like Friday night, throw the golf on. Nothing else is on. I mean, there's other sports going on, but golf wise, that's all it's on. And it's like you got to find a way to get them a little bit more in the spotlight. We talked about last week with the hoodies coming up and like stuff like that. Like it's getting there. It's kind of feels like it's gaining momentum. Like an event like that, I think would put it over the top if you give it men's golf coverage and TV slots, but you showcase how good some of these LPGA Tour players are. I think that would do it would do so well in the growing the game aspect of people wanting to watch it, but also like them transferring to LPGA Tour viewers and fans. I think it would do an awesome job of doing that. And they kind of do it with the Tiburon thing, but you got to do it in a more prime time part of the season. I think
it's got to be a full field event too.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be 80 teams, but it's got to be 40 or 50 teams at least. There needs to be some good cash in the line, and we need to play a championship golf course. Yep. Tiburon's a championship golf course. I think that's nice, and we play some fun tournaments, but like, let's get it at a really fun, well-known venue. And I think there's places out there that would want to host this event. But let's do something a little bit different, something that we don't usually do. Usually we kind of go right into this week's tournament and do a little preview, but Valspar Championships in Palm Harbor, which is right outside Tampa, Florida. And I think let's dive into the city. It's a great city. And I think, at Bogey Proof, we chat a lot about, we want to kind of transition into talking more about food and booze and travel, and kind of all those things that come together that make kind of just the things around golf and kind of make life that much more enjoyable. So Tampa's a important place to me. I have some family that live down there. Did some work down there, and have spent some good time down there the last few years, and I really enjoy it. I think it's a super cool and super diverse city. Like, we have the downtown area that's growing like crazy. We have the old Cuban area, the Yarbo City area, which is kind of in like the southeast side. Um, then you also have like the country aspect, like the north into the east of the city, like only 30-40 minutes out. Like, you get out there where there's ranches. Like, my cousin got married on a ranch 45 minutes north of Tampa. Like, there's stuff out there, and it's kind of wild. And you don't get that in a whole lot of cities where, sometimes it takes you an hour and a half to kind of really get to the more rural areas. So Tampa is kind of unique in the fact that we have that country, we have kind of that downtown, but then you go west and we're in kind of Palm Harbor where Valspar is being played. We have Clearwater Beach, we have St. Petersburg, all right there. Like, it is just, it's a crazy location in the fact that you know, we have the Gulf on one side, and then we have kind of that country aspect and the downtown kind of thriving. I would say kind of like a mid-tier city, but definitely growing a bunch. I mean, sports have been great as of late. Tampa Bay Lightning playing well, obviously. Buccaneers winning, Rays having a good year last year. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on downtown.
I mean, some people call it the Tom Brady effect, but I think it's just a good city. I mean, Tom Brady just breeds winning. It's a totally different tangent we're gonna go on here, but like, guys in Tampa, New England's been the sports mecca for the last 10 years. Always been the Patriots quarterback, winning 6 Super Bowls himself, and the Red Sox got a few, Bruins got one, Celtics got one. A lot of success in New England sports. Goes to Tampa for 1 year. Tampa, he wins, right? Again, Tampa Bay Lightning win. Rays losing the World Series. Something about the Tom Brady effect. I think it needs to be talked about. Not a lot of people are talking about the Tom Brady effect. I'm not gonna lie, but it is. I mean, I've only been like through there. I haven't spent a significant time in the city, but everything I've seen, it looks so much fun. Like, I know about the beaches that are there. Like, I have kind of friends of friends that are down there, and it's like they're always sending me pictures of the beach. It looks just incredible down there. It's like definitely a city that's on my list of like, next time I go to Florida, and it's not like, a golf trip specific where everything's, planned out. You don't really like spend time doing anything besides golfing. That's probably the city I'm going to go to. There's not many others that really grab my attention of just wanting to go there to hang out. Obviously, there's a lot of golf to be played in Tampa, but that's kind of the one for me where it's like, I want to go there and just kind of hang out, like go to the beaches, check out, the Cuban district, the downtown area, all this different stuff that it kind of has to offer, try the food down there. There's all that kind of stuff that I think, again, COVID's been kind of a hassle in the last 18 months of trying to do some of these things. But, mid 20s in my life right now, like, that's the kind of stuff I want to be doing is, long weekend, let me go to a new city I've never been to and try it out. And I think Tampa is definitely on that list for me of, places to go and try out.
Yeah, no, and it has to be, I think, kind of where we're at in our lives. Like, yeah, it's honestly, I don't even want to say it's fun, because I don't know if it's fun. Like, I don't really have any interest in like going to like New York City for a weekend.
No.
Like, I'll go to see some friends or something like that, but I like the idea of kind of going to one of these mid-tier cities where it's not crazy busy. I can get a nice hotel somewhere, whether it's downtown or whether it's at Clearwater at the beach. I can play golf if I want to, but I also can kind of hang out like you're talking about. I can go to a nice dinner. I can go to a beer hall or a beer garden outside. I can listen to some live music and really kind of relax. And I think Tampa does a really good job of that. I think, and we've talked a little bit about the beaches. It's really cool because Clearwater is only like 30 minutes west of the city, but once you kind of go onto Clearwater Beach and you go over the bridge, it's like a beach bum town, right? Like, you got people walking down there. They got their board shirts, flip flops, no shirts on, just sipping their coffee, doing whatever. Like, it's super unique, and it's super cool that still goes on. 30 minutes from what we're maybe calling the new sports mecca of kind of the East Coast. But I think you brought up too, food being a big aspect. And I think we've talked about it before on this podcast and kind of on our Instagram as something that we all really enjoy is getting together for a meal, and whether it's going out to dinner or kind of just, grabbing some good stuff and cooking it up ourselves. But Tampa's got some really epic stuff. Burns Steakhouse, is one of the most ridiculous steakhouse experiences I have ever been involved in. It is like in the bottom floor is the steakhouse itself, but it's got like 1950s vibes with like kind of, you know, dark, like deep red carpet on the walls, like kind of like gargoyle statues, very
Ooh,
dark in
man.
there. You know, all the people that are working are in tuxedos. They have the basement has one of the largest wine cellars in the entire country, and as part of like you get a tour of the facility while you're there. So you walk through and they give you your spiel. Um, you know, food's tremendous. And then the really cool part, so you get yourself a reservation for the steakhouse, which is pretty difficult in itself. We somehow got one last minute, like a few days before, but we had to go at like 9:30 at night.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then you also make a reservation for the upstairs, which is the dessert area. So
Ooh,
you get it. So you go upstairs and they have the most ridiculous ice cream sundaes, or, you know, you can make your own, and they have pies or tons of different coffee drinks or whatever. So it's kind of in its own experiences. And there's people that just go there for dessert. So
that's
it's
cool.
really cool, kind of, you know, very expensive, but definitely worth,
Yeah,
you know, if
yeah,
you're going to
try
go
it.
there, yeah, if you're going to go there with a significant other, with your family or something like that, good steak, good glass of wine, and then kind of topping it off with just like a really fun, unique experience to go have dessert upstairs is a lot of fun. And they know their shit. It's so much.
Yeah,
It's fun when your waitress or your waiter really knows what they're talking about, and you can ask their opinion, and they have a legitimate articulated response to what you have to say. Is really fun, and that's something that you get to experience when you go there.
yeah. That's definitely like you said. I feel like it's probably expensive or whatever, right? Being a steakhouse, they always are. But like, when in Rome, right? I mean, that's that experience itself. Like the fact that it has a separate dessert reservation, kind of required. I don't know if that's the right word, but like that just shows like how awesome and how well they do what they do. Whether that the fact that they can separate their meal in half and like sell out both sides with reservations, like that's pretty awesome. Like can only imagine like the the variations of desserts that they have to offer and like that whole experience itself if like that fills up without even having to order dinner to get to it. It's like that's just like one of those things that it's going to be on my list when I go there. It's like you gotta
You
try
got to
Burns.
do it.
You
You
gotta
got
go
to
to
do it.
Burns.
Yeah, gotta go to Burns. It's no, it's yeah, it's in like kind of I think it's called the Hyde Park district of the city. So it's a little bit west of the city, and it's got all the old homes, but it's right on the channel. So it's super cool too. If you do happen to go, you know, say if you have like an 8 o'clock reservation, if you got over there at like 7 o'clock, kind of as the sun's going down, it's a cool place to kind of watch the sunset too before you head into dinner. But also, I kind of note a couple other fun places that I've visited in Tampa that I think people should check out. Columbia Restaurant in the Cuban district, the Yarbo City, super cool Spanish restaurant. And you know, I think the area itself is known for their Cuban food, and they have a couple, you know, really old restaurants, but this one's super special in itself. Big plates, but also have like kind of a tapas side to it too. So, you know, you could get a huge paella, or you could just go like your whole table could get, you know, 8 tapas or something like that,
Yeah.
and go in there, and they pack you in like this. I remember the chair that we were sitting at, like I could feel the person that was sitting behind me. Like that's it, obviously that's not going on probably when COVID. But it's just like, you know, it's a popular place, and you know, people deal with that nonsense when
Because
it's
it's
worth
that good.
being there,
Yeah,
because
because
it's
it's
that
that
good and it's worth being there. And we had a blast when we went, and you know, I would definitely put that up on your list. And I think it's, you know, you're gonna have a good meal there, but then it's also kind of fun to walk around in that area, and it's a blast from the past. Like you have like chickens run like
good.
you have like chickens running around in the street.
See, that's what you
Um,
need. You need that
and
authentic
yeah,
like
it's
experience.
it's super authentic, and it's very much a place, you know, and we're dealing with a lot of gentrification that goes on in the US right now, like in a lot of cities. And I think that area is kind of right on that cusp too, where like people are moving into these old areas that need money to kind of be reinvested, but you're also kind of displacing some of the people that have been living there for forever. So it's unique, just position there. But I think for someone that's only going there for a period of time, I think it's a really cool experience. Yes, it might be a little bit difficult to see at times, kind of the things that go on there, but I definitely think it's a unique experience, and a place that someone should spend some time. And then also there's a really cool new place. It's only been open about 3 years now. It's called the Sparkman's Wharf, and it's right downtown, right near the financial district, um, pretty close to the airport. And it's one of the coolest like beer garden food truck areas I've ever seen in my entire life. It's right on the channel. They have live music and kind of like a turf area where live music is going on and people are dancing and doing whatever. Huge bar, four-sided bar, covered TVs, probably 50 local beers on on tap right there. And it's funny, the people working the bar there are almost all New Englanders. So it's like New Englanders that brought the craft beer kind of
I love
world
that.
down to Tampa. So I've gone a couple times, and I know I can just sit down at the bar and have a good conversation with someone because we're going to be able to chat New England or do whatever. Like, you got people wearing Red Sox and Bruins hat work in the bar, so that's always fun. And then it's also super cool because I think we were talking about it a little before. Think food trucks, but then they're storage containers instead of food trucks
I
that
love
they've
that.
built these little pop-up restaurants out of. So they're painted ridiculous colors, lots of pinks and oranges and bright blues and stuff like that. And so they
Custom.
don't move, but like it's a storage container that will hold kind of two restaurants with an opening on one side for one of the restaurants and opening on the other side. And it's super cool. Like, you can get empanadas at one place, then there's shrimp tacos at the next place, and then there's barbecue at the one down the hall, or whatever the case may be. So it's super cool, and you get some really eclectic food and some local food, but then also just kind of influences from all over the country. So a lot of fun. And let's dive into kind of the golf of Tampa. I know you said you haven't spent a whole lot of time out there, but there's definitely a lot of good golf. Do you know of kind of any that's in the area?
Yeah, I mean, there's a TPC there, right? It seems to be there's TPC everywhere now, but there's a TPC Tampa Bay. Again, never played it or anything like that, but I know it's out there. So whenever city has a TPC, it's usually not the only golf course in the city, right?
Yep.
Like, it's usually a golf destination that they added a TPC to like kind of, that's the prized possession of the area. But there's all the other diamonds in the rough that are kind of surrounding it and stuff like that. I think Chichi Rodriguez got a course in Tampa. I don't know
He
about that.
does. He
Sources
does.
yet can confirm, but like I think he's got one down there. So it's like, clearly, if you got these kind of brands associated with the area, it means there's a lot of quality golf courses around there that they chose that area to be like, I need to put my name, my golf course, my brand associated with something in this area because the golf is that good around there. I mean, Florida itself always is full of golf, but it's always good to see kind of the not always talked about spots, like
Mhm.
Orlando's always talked about, Jacksonville with the other TPC is always talked about. It's like, it's nice to see, a different city area, whatever you want to call it, of Florida.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, we got a little bit of golf over here too. I know you've probably played
There, and you're aimed at the highway, and you look like you're gonna hit some cars, but you don't hit it quite that far. Um, but that's super cool. Old Memorial is a really private golf course out there, a little bit west of the city too. And I know we have um, some friends here from Western Mass that are members down there, and I know our buddy Matt Albano took a trip down there this winter and enjoyed himself there with his uncle and a couple other characters. And then also a place that's about 45 minutes to an hour north of Tampa is called Lake Jovita, and it's a really cool 36 hole facility. Tons of houses out there, some condos and stuff that you can stay in. And we stayed out there when we went to my cousin's wedding, and we stayed in a condo right next to the range. So we practiced, like, got up in the morning, we practiced and we did whatever. And then two championship golf courses. They actually had Champions Tour qualifying there for like a 4 or 5 year stretch, actually. And then also a couple early stages of PGA Tour Q school back in the day. I know my uncle Billy has mentioned that he spent some time there when he was grinding in the
love that.
early '90s in the Q school, and when it was the Nike tour at that point. So there's opportunity. Like, you can get out there if you go a little bit off the beaten path and play some really quality golf, and not pay a whole lot of money. TPC Tampa Bay is really expensive because it's like it's just north of downtown and super close to the airport. So just from a convenience standpoint, understandably so, it's expensive. But if you're willing to drive a little bit, Brooksville is pretty close. They have Southern Plantations, which was actually the Monday qualifier for this week. Southern Hills Plantation, and then a few other ones. I mean, you're really not even that far from Orlando. So there's tons of good golf in the area. You just have to be kind of willing to drive and go a little bit off the beaten path. But I think kind of all the things that we chatted about, right? Like the city itself and like other things to do down there, and the food and the golf, like it all kinds of lends itself to, like, it would be a great place to go on a buddy's trip. Like, you wouldn't kill yourself, like, right? A Pinehurst buddy's trip can be $3,000-$4,000 in a heartbeat if you play the top courses. And right, we're headed to Ireland the end of this summer, and it's pretty fucking expensive, right? Like it's in that range as well. So like, you don't have to do that every single time. And I think for a lot of our listeners out there that are either newer to the game or kind of in our demographic of the mid-20s, I think finding some of these places where you can get a hotel, you can play golf, all for $1,000 or $1,500, leaves you the opportunity to go to a nice dinner, to explore a place, to go to a show, to go to a game, where like when you do these other big trips, you don't really have the discretionary income to do so because you spent so much goddamn money. So I think a place like Tampa is super cool, and would be a great place for people to do a buddy trip. So, if listeners out there have any questions, shoot us a DM. I know we talked about a few places on the pod here, but happy to give you guys some additional suggestions, whether it be from a golf standpoint, food standpoint, or just kind of areas to check out. Just let us know. And, let's, can you just plug our social? Cause I think we're doing some absolutely spectacular stuff here. We have about as much interaction on the social media as we have had in our entire life. So we're just trying to keep this rolling.
Yeah, social's buzzing. I mean, we've been posting a lot more the last week and a half. We're almost at a post a day. We're getting a lot more, golf drills, golf tips videos out there. I know Joey always does the swing reviews, but doing more like, hey, here's what I work on when I go and, work on my game. Here's what I practice when my swing's feeling like this, and here's what this is with, whether it's wedge work Wednesday, or Eric put up a nice little drill last night for, Monday night tips, which I think both of those things are something we're going to try to do as consistently as we can going forward. I mean, obviously there's only so many drills you can do without being repetitive of each other, but we're going to try and mix it up. And, with Mikey being in Pinehurst, you're going to see some pretty awesome facilities down there that may not be available to me in Connecticut, but either way, you're going to get the same kind of, hey, here's a quick thing. If you're struggling with this part of your game, here's what you can work on. And then, speaking of buddy trips, buddy locations, all that stuff, we also just started a giveaway that we're going to run until the conclusion of the Valspar on Sunday. Mikey, being in Pinehurst, stopped by the pro shop, picked up a hat, a towel, some Pinehurst cups, and some Bogey Proof tees, which we've been putting in the Instagram story. Put a little goodie bag together. We're going to do a giveaway for. So all you got to do is like that post, follow us on Instagram, tag a couple of your buddies, and then, we'll pick a winner come the conclusion of Valspar on Sunday. But the social's been buzzing. We're trying to give as many different little things. We got a couple course reviews we've been putting in there as well on Instagram. Instagram's been hot. We're going to try and work those things into YouTube or Twitter, or, wherever they need to fit. Obviously the podcasts are going to be coming out, consistently every Thursday, whatever it needs to be. But Instagram, all that stuff, we're pushing. We're getting as much as we can out to you guys. And, we got some merch coming through the lines too, as you guys have seen with the tees, and there's other stuff in the making. We're just, ironing out the details before we put anything out there for views. But yeah, I mean, social as always is buzzing. You got Twitter, Bogey Proof Tweets, Instagram, Bogey Proof Graham, podcasts anywhere, Apple, Spotify, etc., and all that fun stuff. But make sure you get in on that giveaway, because I think we got 40 comments within an hour and a half, 2 hours here. So there's a lot of people to pick from. So make sure you get your name in there early and often.
Yeah, no, thanks for letting everyone know kind of all the different areas where they can follow along and see our content and listen in. Definitely something we're going to continue to push. And coming into the summer, I think we're going to be playing a lot more golf. So I think we'll try to continue to kind of push like our on the course and the things that we're doing kind of off the course to improve our games and stuff like that. But I also think with the summer coming and COVID cooling down a little bit, there's an opportunity for us to do a few other things too. And we're going to travel a little bit more. We're going to do some things outside the game of golf and try to really share that too with the listeners. So excited for kind of where we're headed and kind of the evolution of what Bogey Proof is. I think we talked about it a little bit off air. Like I think the podcast has an opportunity to really kind of transform into a place that we chat about golf, but it's really kind of just the vessel to talk about cities and talk about experiences that are going on kind of in those same realms. So really excited for where everything's going. We're going to try to continue to be consistent over what we produce and what we put out there so everyone can really enjoy our stuff. But let's get into the final thing of the week, the Valspar Championship in Palm Harbor, right outside Tampa. A pretty strong field, actually. I think, and we talked about it, I think kind of leading up to the PGA, it's one of those tournaments on a really good golf course, a ball striker's place, that requires enough shot making and enough ability. Kind of like we get a really strong field here, and people are trying to build towards that major championship. And I think especially with Kiowa being just a crazy stout test, I think people are really going to put in a lot of work and a lot of reps into their game here the next few weeks to figure out, hey, where do I really stand before I get out there in the wind in South Carolina and kind of see, am I going to get eaten up, or is my game here to stay, and can I contend there? I think Innisbrook will do a good job here. The Copperhead course, if it's it's been said a lot. I think it's one of the more difficult golf courses, and there's the stretch down the end is really pretty tough. A lot of water in play, and surprisingly hilly. For Florida terrain as well. So I think it's a unique aspect, and be on the lookout. We're gonna do a course review of the Copperhead course. Lucky enough to have my buddy Will played there this winter, so he sent me over some pictures and a little blurb of his take on the golf course and kind of how it plays. Take it with a grain of salt, because he said he played really well. So he's probably going to say the course was super easy or anything like that. But I think that will also give some insight for the people as well. We'll do that post, and then they can get a couple action shots of the course, and it's super cool. I think he sent me a few photos, and they have the Valspar signage up there and a couple of the stands for the limited people that are going to be there. So it's kind of fun to play a venue when those things are still up. But as far as players go, Paul Casey, is he gonna get it done? Is he gonna three-peat? What do you think, Fontaine?
I mean, like you said, right? Everything we kind of talked about here fits Paul Casey. Hard golf course, ball striking paradise. Like that's what that guy's done for 15 years now, is just strike the shit out of the ball. And going for the three-peat, like you said, he won in 18. He squeaked out Tiger by 1, I believe. Won in 19 as well, followed right back up, and then COVID happened, so this wasn't played last year. So three-peat is on the table, and I think I saw a stat this week, another just added to the list of ridiculous Tiger Woods stats. But in the history of the PGA Tour, there's been 9 instances where a player has like three-peated at a particular golf course, tournament, etc. Tiger Woods has been 7 of those 9 instances. So, and the other 2 happened in like 1934 and like 1948. So it's like if Paul Casey were to do this, he'd be like adding himself to quite the list of individuals, or like it's quite the stat to have on your resume. And for that, I can't imagine it happens. Just like I just don't see Paul Casey being that guy. But like I said, it seems to be one of the better golf courses that generates a lot of good players. It's not always the deepest field in the world, given the timing. Like the PGA is coming up, and I think we talked about it going into the Masters. Some guys would rather be home and grinding versus out there on the course trying to find it or whatever if they're not feeling great about their games. But it'll let you know. Like you said, it's a ball striking place, like water everywhere. Like you can't kind of whiff it around there. Like there's a lot of small greens. Like you gotta hit it. You gotta hit your spots out there. So I think it gives direct feedback on how well you're actually hitting the ball. If you're kind of getting away with hitting it far and catching some rough or whatever here and there at different places where this will kind of call you out. So a lot of good players in the field. I mean, JT, I think DJ is out there too. I mean, Paul Casey's no slouch himself. I want to say he's top 15 in the world. I mean, he's been super solid the last 2-3 years. So I got to imagine that it's going to be a fun golf tournament to watch, just giving all that. And with everybody's gearing up for PGA, it's in 4 weeks from today, this tournament coming up. So it's coming up. So it's between this and the Wells Fargo next week. The big names are going to start playing again after the Masters kind of cooled down the last couple of weeks. So a lot of good golf and a lot of good, big names to come and see in golf coming up. And I mean, Tiger almost snuck this out in 2018. That's my biggest memory of the Valspar. Outside of that, I mean, that was the peak of the comeback. He had that. I think he still had that shitty TaylorMade, not the Scotty, where he's using that weird half a claw putter because he was putting so poorly. But that was my biggest memory of the Valspar. But other than that, I mean,
that 5-iron he hit on 17 or like 16 or whatever it was when he almost just like knocked it in the hole. I was like, that's when you knew, right, coming down the stretch, you're like, oh god. Like
then he made like a 40-footer on 17 to get within one.
Yeah,
dangerous.
Yeah, he definitely found something that week, and obviously, the rest is history. The way he got it done, and prayers for the big cat. We saw him at
active.
least.
We're out about.
At least he was vertical. We saw him. He had a couple aids. He had a boot on. He had a couple crutches, but he had his dog by his side, and he looked like he was in good spirits. So hoping to see a little more action from him, in the next few weeks.
Looks like a lot of upper body workouts going on. Looks swole up top. Chest and the arms are big. He was also like after he posted that picture, the next day he was at PGA National watching Charlie play and something. I don't know if it was PGA National, but he was out watching Charlie playing something. I don't know why I think it was PGA National, but he was spotted again. Same setup, got the boot, crutches, and all that stuff. He was riding around a golf cart watching Charlie play in some junior event or whatever. So it's nice to see him at least out and about. That's progress, right? Like, seems like that's just like healthy, right? Like he's outside, he's doing shit. He's not just, hiding from the world and disappearing. I think that shed some light into where his head's at, like he's in good spirits. If he was miserable, he wouldn't be out and about, so I think that's good to see. So, I don't know what his golf career looks like, but I'm not holding my breath for him to play competitively again. But it's at least nice to see that he's in a decent headspace, and looks like he's going to be his next golf career maybe in, obviously President's Cups, Ryder Cups will probably be captaining in some aspect for the years to come. But it looks like it's going to be involved with Charlie, which will be a lot of fun to watch based on that kind of showing he had back in, was it November, December, whatever it was with that tournament. So exciting stuff to come out of the big cat. Got the hat on, shout out. But it's good to see him out and about. I'm hoping that, that kind of builds some momentum. We see him more involved and more involved and more involved in whatever aspect, whatever way he wants to let us in, we'll take it. End of story.
Here at Bogey Proof, we have an open door policy for Tiger Woods. We just like to make that clear.
We'd like to hop on the pod and we could talk for hours.
And we're happy to let him curate whatever he'd like to talk about. We won't go anywhere he doesn't want to go. We'll let him lead the conversation. We'll just tag along. But prayers for the big cat. Hopefully he's getting better, and hopefully we get to see him hit a golf ball at some point, somewhat in the near future. Let's dive into picks, Mr. Fontaine. We'll go with Joey and Eric who couldn't make it tonight. We'll give theirs. Joseph is going with Honest Abe Answer. The man has really kind of, he's moved up in the game of golf like crazy the last 2.5 years. A guy who was kind of just kicking around the bottom end of the PGA Tour and going back and forth between the Korn Ferry Tour to being a stalwart on the President's Cup team and really kind of the best player from Mexico we've seen in a long, long time. Mm-hmm. So a lot of fun to kind of watch his career.
Self-taught too.
Yeah, self-taught. A guy that has been very open about what he tried to do when he got to the PGA Tour and try to change his game and add a bunch of distance and figure out kind of how he could get to the next level, when in reality, he struggled the most he ever had when he tried to do that. And it kind of reminded himself to, go back to the things that he was doing to get him to the PGA Tour, and just kind of make those, make those things the focus again. And it's interesting that we kind of talk about that, because I was thinking about my own game, not to compare it to
I was
Abe
just gonna
Answer's
say
game.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go.
not to compare it to Abe Answer's. And it's like, I was thinking about my game the other day. I was hitting balls and I was struggling a little bit on the range, and I thought to myself, hey, like, my long iron game's not great, and I don't know if it ever will be great. Like, I'm not a professional golfer. I don't have the time to like grind on that stuff and do whatever. But like, I know I can hit it straighter, and I know I can wedge it great. So I'm gonna grind, and I'm gonna hit the ball straight as fuck. I'm gonna hit it long, and I'm just gonna like, every time I get a wedge in my hand or I get a short iron in my hand, so 150 in, like, let's hit a good shot. Let's hit a quality shot. Let's hit it where we want. Like, those are all things that I can work on, and those things I enjoy working on. I love going to the range and pounding drivers, but I also love going to the range and flighting wedges and hitting different shots to different pins, and all things that I know I can work on and really improve on. So I think anybody can kind of take something from what Abe Answer went through. It was like,
Right.
hey, figure out what works for you, and um, you know, focus on those, and yeah, try to improve the areas that you're struggling, but don't shy away from the areas that you have some ability, and make those great.
Right. Yeah. I think, like you said, like make sure you recognize what you're good at too. Like self-awareness, right, is really the message there. Like you kind of, as long as you know what you're good at, you have to, kind of maintain that and work on that and like make sure you keep that at that level. But don't kill yourself over the things you're bad at. Like, yes, you want to work at them to improve them as you can, but like don't reroute your entire golf game to fix that one thing. Like especially when you've like for you, you've played golf for 20 years now. It's like because you don't hit your long irons well, you're not going to do any drastic changes to your golf swing that will negatively impact the other areas that you think you do well at, and like kind of rechange the whole way you play the game, because that ultimately that's going to have a negative outcome like when you add everything up. So it's like, yes, you want to improve on your weaknesses, and I think that's the easiest way to get your scores to get a little bit better, but like don't do it in a drastic manner, I think is the way it has to be about. Like, again, to like what Abe's saying, like, right, like what am I good at and what got me here? Let me make sure I do those things well still. And yes, I'm going to work on whatever it is, whether it's distance or whatever else. Like, I'm going to find ways to do that, but I need to be patient with it and not like blow everything up to add 10 yards. Like I think that's a lot of, especially like this day and age, right? Like all you see everywhere is Bryson, it seems like, or even DJ, Rory, like all these guys, like they're the guys that get the attention and the buzz and like all the, PGA Tour Instagram posts or whatever Instagram posts where it's showing their TrackMan and their ball speed and their carries and all this stuff. Like it's not realistic for everybody to do. So know what you do well and obviously work on the things you don't do well, but like make sure the things you do well, you don't lose in the chase of something in order to fix on the other part of your game. Distance is like the easiest example to make. That's why I made it. But like, there's other areas that comes into play too. Like, make sure you stick to what you know and you keep those things where they need to be, and don't lose sight of those things in order to take your worst part of your game and try and make it your best. It's just not realistic. Like, you got to keep a game on the
Got to
track.
keep it tight. Got to keep
Yeah.
it tight.
You got to keep your game on the tracks.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. And that we need to just say quick. I know Joey's going with Abe Answer, but honorable mention for him as always, Sung J Im and Kiradech Afibon both in the field this week. So keep an eye out for them. I'm not sure how Sung J Im played last week, or even if he did play, but Kiradech coming off
Him and on,
what?
they're in there.
Oh yeah, Ben on, huh? Yeah, on and him. But him and on and him. Whichever you'd like. But looking for a bounce back week from the Rat. Hoping he brought his game here to Southwest Florida. Who do you like this week, Matt? Who do you like?
I really struggled to not pick this guy when he's in the field, so I'm gonna go with JT. I just think he's he won the Players this year, but his other starts have been like 36 or 45 awesome holes, and like he just kind of loses it for a round or a 12-hole stretch somewhere along the way. That ultimately makes him finish, 17th versus, in that top 5, which, for his standards, that's where he kind of expects to be when he tees it up, I think. I just, I can't not pick him. So I'm going to go with JT. And then shout out the Rat again. Like, he got in on an exemption too because Terrell Hatton and like 5 other people got COVID. So this is a golden opportunity for the Rat. This is where you weren't expected to play. Maybe your expectations are out the door. You weren't grinding as much this week and you kind of play a little more free. Maybe you sneak a top 20 and get some points, Rat. Like, we need to get some momentum building for the Rat camp.
Is the Rat in a featured pairing then? Because I'm pretty sure Terrell was in a featured pairing.
Ooh, we might have appointment television come Thursday. Let me check.
I'm looking at it as well right now. I think this would be pretty amazing.
Either way, big week for the Rat. And while you look into that a little bit more, we'll give a shout out to Eric.
Oh my goodness, he's playing in. So he's going off 801 with Patrick Reed and Phil Mickelson.
My goodness, what a group!
He's probably going to be in PGA Tour Live too.
It has to be. Phil Mickelson's always in PGA Tour Live. He has to be. That's going to be incredible. Let's go! What a weekend! Thursday, Friday.
So let's shift honorable mention to pick 1A. Abe Answer won. The Rat 1A. Now he's playing with some other studs. So give us Eric's pick as well.
Yeah, Eric's going a little. He's surprising us as he's done throughout the year, and he's been pretty good when he does go kind of rogue like this. But he's going Charles Howell III. I mean,
Chucky 3 Sticks.
Chucky 3 Sticks. Guy's made $60 million on the tour, and he won like one event. So like, guy's got to figure it out. He knows how to play some golf and rack up some top fives and big events. But interested to see what Chucky 3 Sticks brings to the table this week. I don't know who you got, Mike.
I got someone I've gone with a handful of times here. I'm going with Corey Connors.
Player
has played really well this year and really moved up the world golf rankings to an area where he's less of a hidden gem now and more of a commodity, I would say. I think for a while we were kind of riding him as someone that we were like, oh, we know about Corey Connors or whatever, and the rest of us really didn't know about him. But I think pretty much the golfing world and people kind of even on the outskirts know about him now. I think a lot of people don't know, before he won that Valero Texas Open or wherever he won that one time in Texas, he actually held a 54-hole lead at Valspar. He Monday qualified, and then finished like 20th, shot like had a really poor round. I think it might have been the year that Patrick Reed won or whatever when Spieth and Reed were together. But that was kind of his initial coming out party when he Monday qualified and was there on Sunday in the last group and just really struggled, but clearly has learned from that. And now, a few years later is a top player in the world. So looking for him to break through. I think he's played very well thus far this year, but we haven't seen a lot of, top fives. We've seen a ton of top 15s, and, a lot of good opening rounds and things like that. But looking for him to kind of put 4 rounds together this week on a golf course he's had success and he clearly likes. And I mean, ball striker's paradise. Guy's a fucking hitter. So
absolutely.
Ready for him to be successful. But Mr. Fontaine, always a pleasure chatting with you. And we got to get those 2 other guys on here. I know we shared their picks, but let's get them on here and let's get their ideas flowing here on the podcast.
Absolutely. Cheers,
Cheers, brother. See ya.